Hi everyone, I'm excited to do another project with you. This month we're going to do a project and we're going to do a type of art called fiber art. And this is a type of art that uses different materials than we usually use, usually like paper and glue and paint. Fiber art uses fabric and yarn and things like that. So it's things like stitching, weaving, embroidery, dyeing fabric, quilting, all those things are fiber art. And we're going to do a fiber art project today, and we're going to learn about a couple of fiber artists. And these artists are two of my favorite artists. So the first one that I was going to tell you about, this is Faith Ringgold. And she is an artist that was born in 1930, and she grew up in a place called Harlem, New York. And she did all sorts of different types of art. She did traditional art, painting, and things like that. And then she started doing fiber art, and she started making quilts. And she became very famous for her quilts. So this is the first one that I want to show you. Oh, this one is called Sunflower Quilting Bee at Aurals. And as you can see, it's a bunch of women around a quilt, and they're all working on this quilt. They're all stitching on it. And if you look at this piece of art carefully, the center part, the part with the sunflowers and the quilt and the buildings, it is actually a painting. And then she has surrounded this painting. She painted on fabric, and then she put this painted fabric in a quilt. So she did quilting all around the edges of this quilt. And she likes to use words and things like that on her quilt. So it's actually a painting, but it's on fabric and has other elements as well. The painting that Faith Ringgold is most famous for is this quilt called Tar Beach 2. And it is a story. It actually kind of tells a story in the quilt. And Tar Beach is the name of the top of an apartment building in New York. So New York, they don't have lots of land and places like that because there's so many buildings. So on top of the building, they called this Tar Beach, so the family could hang out up here. And this quilt actually has a storybook to go with it. If you ever want to, you can listen or find this story written by the same artist. Her name is Faith Ringgold again, and the book is called Tar Beach. And it tells the story of a little girl named Cassie, and she dreams of being free to go wherever she wants the rest of her life. So one night up on Tar Beach, which again is the top of her apartment building, her dream comes true and the stars lift her up and she can fly all over the city. And this quilt tells the same story. So it's kind of a fun story. You could find this book and read it or listen to it somewhere as well. The other artist that I want to tell you about today is one of my very favorite artists. Her name is Sheila Hicks. And Sheila Hicks was born in Nebraska in 1934. And when she was in her 20s, she visited South America and became interested in fiber arts. She now lives in New York and Paris. She goes back and forth. And she does these really cool fiber arts. So this is a picture of her. She's still alive today, and she still does quite a bit of art. She's almost 90, and she still does all these cool fiber arts. And you can see behind her these big balls of material. So kind of like big balls of yarn, and they're really brightly colored. So let's look at another. So here's a better picture of those. They're kind of like big giant balls of yarn, and they're really brightly colored, and they're really fun. So let's look at another one. So here's another picture of those big balls of material. And then look at this one. This one is big lengths of string and yarn hanging from the ceiling in lots of fun colors as well. And actually, when I was preparing all the materials for this project for you guys, I had big hangers full of yarn that look kind of just like this. So that was kind of fun. And then here's another one. And this one, it looks like colored pictures, like a regular picture frame, but instead she's wrapped yarn and materials around these canvases. So it is still fiber art. So as you can see from these fiber arts, they find really fun ways to use yarn and different materials to make art. And so we're going to do the same thing today. So this is the project for our younger grades, so for our TK through 2nd grade, and these are the materials that you should have. So you should have this template right here that says Fiber Art Octopus template. You should have these 3 little gray stickers, these little eyeball stickers. Your eyeballs might look different. There's all sorts of different eyeball stickers. And there's the yarn, this colored yarn. The other things that you're gonna need from home or your class are a glue stick and a pair of scissors. So if you have all those things, then you're ready to go. And we're gonna make this little fiber art octopus. So this octopus has traditional materials like paper and glue that we're gonna use, but then we're gonna use some yarn, just like our fiber artist. So what I want you to do is we're not gonna use our yarn quite yet or our stickers. So first what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut out this template, and all we're gonna do first is we're gonna cut this line right here and this line right here. So our outer lines, and it's gonna give us kind of a square. So let's cut that out. Okay, so you've got your template cut out, like I said, cutting on the edges, so you kind of have this square. And the next step you're gonna do is you're gonna take it like this, and I want you to kind of roll it up, just like this. So just so it looks like that. That just helps us get ready. So it'll be a little bit, when you roll it up, it'll sit like that. So that's just gonna help us with our next step. So now our next step is, where it says glue here with those arrows, we're gonna fill that in with glue. So we're going to use our glue stick and we're going to fill that whole rectangle in with glue and get a nice amount of glue because we really need this to stick well for us. Like that. So I glued it really well. And then we're going to roll it up again and you're going to stick that together. And you want that to cover up that square that says glue here. And we're going to push it down as good as we can. We're going to kind of hold it and gently push it down so we want it to stick. Now we're going to help it stick because we don't want that glue to come undone. So to do that, do you see how after you've rolled it up, you have these 3 half circles? So if you want, you can take these 3 gray stickers and you can put them on those little dots like that. Like that. And like that, and like that. And then I want you to push those dots down, get them nice and stuck. So now you have a nice little tube. Kind of looks like a toilet paper roll or a paper towel roll. And it doesn't look like an octopus yet, does it? So now, do you see these lines that we have here? All those little lines. And there's even one tiny line up here. We're gonna cut all of those lines. So we're gonna give our octopus 8 legs. So I just want you to take your scissors and cut on those lines. All the way up. And we're gonna start seeing our octopus's legs. And if you can't cut these perfectly straight or as long, that's okay. This octopus does not have to be perfect. Just get on those lines as much as you can, like that. So I cut those legs and then I'm gonna turn it over and I'm gonna look for that little line at the top. Do you see that little mini line? And you're just gonna give it a little snip. And I'll tell you what that little snip is for later. So now, what you're gonna do is you're gonna make our octopus legs. So the only other thing you need, which maybe I forgot to tell you that you need, is you need a crayon or a pencil or a marker, anything round like this. I'm gonna use this one that I have right here. And each leg you're gonna take and you're gonna roll it on your pen or your marker or your crayon. Watch what happens. It stays rolled up. So then do the next one. Roll those legs up. Roll them. So you're going to roll all 8. And this one right here where you be glued, it's going to be a little harder to roll up because it's a little thicker, but you guys can do it. Roll them up just like that. And we're almost there. There we go. So we've got our octopus. So you've rolled up all his legs. And you know what? Our octopus is kind of funny. Our octopus only has seven legs. So he's kind of a funny octopus. So we've got our octopus just like that. And if you want, you can kind of pull these and they'll uncurl a little bit. Or you can just leave them curled up. So now we've got our nice little octopus. Okay, so now is when you're going to use your yarn. You're going to turn this into fiber art. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the end of your yarn. And do you remember that little snip that we made? See this little snip right here? You're going to take your yarn and you're going to pop it into that little slit. See how it's in that slit? And that's just going to hold it for us. And then we are going to wrap our octopus like this. Just gently wrap him. You don't want to pull too tight because then you'll squish him. But you can just wrap, and wrap that yarn all the way down to our octopus's legs. And maybe if you get down to where his legs are, then you can come back up and just cover him up. So just wrap him up. And that's going to make him look nice and colorful. And then when you start to get to the end of this, so now we've reached the end. Looks like let's see if we can wrap it one more time. When you get to an end and you can't wrap it all the way around again, you're going to stick that end also into that little slit that we made. And you just kind of pop it in just like that. And that's going to hold our octopus's yarn in there. That's all we have to do. If you want, you could stick a piece of tape right there, but it'll actually hold pretty well by itself. So then we only have one step left. Now you have your nice little octopus, but you need some eyes. So turn your octopus like this. And so this is our back. See how we can see the dots? We want to turn him to the front, or her. And our kind of 7-legged octopus. And then stick the octopus eyes on. Just like that. And there you go. Now you have your fiber art octopus. And it is a fiber art octopus because you have used fiber materials like this yarn.